Well, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders, welcome to the Thrive Collective. Oh, today is going to be such a fun episode. I'm so glad that you're tuning in. Dr. J.J. Petersen is in the house today. Literally wrote the book on how to build a sales funnel that works for your small business. Today is going to be a riot. I'm so excited to have Dr. J.J. with us. Just a little bit of an introduction for Dr. JJ. Since 2013, he's used the StoryBrand Framework to help thousands of organizations, small business owners, and leaders clarify their message in order to grow their business. With Donald Miller, Dr. Petersen co-authored Marketing Made Simple, a step-by-step guide to helping you build that sales funnel that works. He holds a Ph.D. in communication and has spent like decades teaching communication theory around the world. And today, as Senior Director of StoryBrand, Dr. J.J. Petersen does travel around facilitating StoryBrand workshops, keynotes, and helping small businesses grow. And today, we're so excited to have him on the Thrive Collective with you. So welcome, Dr. J.J. Petersen, to the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Rob. I'm so excited to be here. Every time you and I get to work together a little bit here and there, and every time we're on camera together, because we haven't been together in, a year and a half, it makes me so happy. So I'm so excited to be here and hang out with you for a little bit.
Oh, it's such an investment into the entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders as well. So thank you, my dear friend. So JJ.
Yeah.
You and I know each other and have for some time, and I feel very blessed by that. But some of the folks tuning in may be meeting you for the very first time. So before we kind of kick into our topic today, I'm just really curious, what's your story? How would you kind of give us a little context of what brought you, and what is, for some of them might be asking, what is StoryBrand? We talk about a lot of episodes, but I'd just love to hear it from you, the Yoda. So yeah, give us a little context, brother.
Yeah, so StoryBrand really is all about helping companies clarify their message, because so many, you know this, so many companies, especially when they're getting started, and even just leaders, have a hard time communicating to an audience in a way that actually increases engagement, right? And we would say they actually, most of them don't even know it, but they're telling the wrong story. Right? They're trying to get people to do things, move them to action by engaging, by buying products, or just even as a leader, trying to move and cast a vision, move a company forward. But so many of them are telling the wrong story. And so what StoryBrand does is comes in and says, here's how story works. Story is really formulaic. So here's the formula. And really, story is the best way to get people's attention and motivate them to move forward. And there's a ton of research behind that. But this is how story works. And then this is the story you should be telling within your organization. And so that's really what StoryBrand does. There's more to it, and I know you and I will get into it, but that's kind of the basic premise. Is people have a hard time communicating in a way that engages people and moves them forward, changes their actions. And story is the way to do that. So we teach people how to do it. So what's interesting for me is my background, my undergrad is in public relations and communication. And so I actually graduated from college and went to work for a nonprofit that builds homes in Mexico. Well, really all over the world. And did marketing and branding for them. And then ended up kind of a wild journey. I became a pastor for a while, and then did improv comedy for a while, and worked in Hollywood for a little while, and then went back into the nonprofit space and ended up working for an organization that does community development in 8 different countries in Africa. And then taught communication, ended up teaching public speaking and marketing at a university, and became dean of students. And it always kind of felt like my life was a little bit, I am a pastor, and then I'm working in Hollywood, and here I am, raising funds for a nonprofit, and then I'm doing comedy, and all of these, it kind of felt like all over the place, until actually I came to StoryBrand. And how that happened was, I was dean of students at a university in Southern California, and I, as you do in Southern California, I sold a reality television show. And the show was called Bad A Brothers. And the premise was that my brothers and I, who also are both ordained pastors, were so not bad A that we couldn't even say the word. And the way that we would up our bad A reputation is we would travel around the United States and find those old weird laws that are still on the books, like you can't cross the Minnesota border with a duck on your head, or you can't have an ice cream cone in your back pocket in Atlanta. And we would research the history behind those laws and then break those laws so we could be more bad A. And so I had sold that show to a production company, and I invited Donald Miller out kind of as a last hurrah for myself to speak at the university that I was at. I was like, he's my favorite author. I'm going to have him come speak to my students as my farewell. And so we just hit it off and became friends. And I started saying, I'm branding this television show. And he said, well, I'm launching this new thing that helps companies clarify their message. And he said, why don't you come out and test it with your show? And so I came out to Nashville from LA, and I started clarifying my own message through this framework, and it blew my mind. I mean, I had been doing communication for 20 years, whether it was preaching or teaching or trying to write emails that raised funds or campaigns or create websites for nonprofits. And I genuinely thought I was an expert in all of this stuff, and then came to StoryBrand and was blown away, and quickly was like, I wish I had this the last 20 years. You know, when I was sitting there writing emails, trying to figure out how to get people to donate to this nonprofit or create a website, or even just like as dean of students, get all the students on board with the new direction we were headed with a vision. And I immediately actually stopped working on my own story, my own brand at that workshop. And I started helping everybody around me, because I was like, I get this, it makes sense to me. I've studied story. He just made it simple. And so I started helping other people. And he was like, I'm doing this, I'm teaching by myself right now. Would you mind coming out to Nashville and every once in a while and helping? And so I did. So that's kind of the long story, but that's how I got to where I am. And really, as I looked back, I said, you know, I had always thought my life was very kind of eclectic and all over the place. And as I got to StoryBrand, I realized that it was always about story. It always was, whether I was doing nonprofit work and trying to engage people in the story of their lives being changed by being engaged, or the lives of the people who we were serving, whether it was doing comedy or working in Hollywood, you know, teaching people how to communicate better, or just preaching. Every single thing I did was try to learn how to tell story better and help other people tell story better. In fact, my master's is in theology and the arts. So it's actually a study of story in film, television, music. My master's thesis was a 30-minute sitcom that was an exegetical tool for the book of Ecclesiastes. That's literally what I wrote as my master's thesis, was how to tell the book of Ecclesiastes in a sitcom form. And so just, you know, it's always been about that. And now I feel incredibly lucky that I get to share this tool that I discovered, you know, now 7 years ago, with people all over the world. And I get to help them clarify their message, invite their customers or their audience, you know, and I'll probably use customers a lot in this podcast, but when I use the word customers, I really mean your audience. So whether you're a leader, or you're just getting started out, or you've been in business and nonprofit for a long time, when I say customers, really what I mean is audience. And so anytime you want to engage your audience, you want to be inviting them into a beautiful story, not just telling your story, not just trying to convince them of something, but inviting them into a beautiful story where their lives are changed because they're engaged with you.
And you say, I mean, JJ, this framework works. And I love the backstory for you of experiencing the clarity of that. And now you get to be the primary champion overseeing really the arm of Business Made Simple, which is StoryBrand. And really that's kind of your baby now. It's so exciting to see that.
Yeah, I feel really blessed and lucky to be able to do it because it changed my life, and I immediately want to help other people so it changes theirs.
Well, I'll tell you, our lives have been changed as a StoryBrand certified agency and guide. We've worked with well over 100 companies around North America, helping them implement this framework.
Yeah.
And we're one agency. There
Yeah.
are many others as well. So really the impact of this is thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of companies that have been totally impacted and changed for the better as a result.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is they come in with a common problem, this whole messaging idea. And I think, here we are today talking about sales funnels. Why is it that building a business at a distance online, why does that seem like rocket science to someone who's not familiar with a process? And what kind of challenges, from your perspective, having worked with thousands of businesses,
Yeah.
have you seen that really prevent companies from able to build in the digital marketing space their business well?
Well, I think a lot of it, especially for entrepreneurs, let's start there. And entrepreneurs and leaders, we didn't go to school for marketing, right? So that first off, just the word and phrase feels really overwhelming. So the idea of I need to write a sales funnel, I'm a lot of people are nervous to even start with one email, let alone 5 or 6. And so I think that's one. Is the first thing is it just feels overwhelming and it feels intimidating because we have to get it right. There's so much at stake in our businesses, right? Like, especially if you're leading a business, you are responsible for people's salaries and moving people forward. And a lot of people took a risk to be with you. So I know you feel that pressure. And so going like, all right, we got to get the right words to do the right thing to build the business and move people forward. So that's really a big thing, is I think people feel intimidated and they don't know where to start. The other thing is, and this is maybe part of my projecting because it's my own insecurity, is that I never necessarily considered myself a salesperson or a marketer because I actually had a negative connotation of those people. Even though now my favorite people in the world are marketers and I am a marketer, I think when I started out, I was like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the person that's always just pushing it and in essence almost begging people to be involved. And coming from a place of being in leadership myself, there's a lot of times where, let's say you're at a church and you're building a new campaign for a new building. Well, you're feeling like, oh, we have to get everything up again and beg people to give money. Or, when you're doing a business, you're like, oh, how do we get more people to buy and buy more? And it just feels, sometimes it can feel a little slimy when you try to create a situation where people are giving you money in any context, right? At least that's for me. That, again, that may be my own projection, but I think a lot of people feel that like, well, I'm not a salesperson. And if I am, I don't want to be quote unquote salesy. So even creating a sales funnel feels weird to me, that I'm going to actually get people's email addresses and then sell them something by sending them emails. That feels gross. And the reality is, when you're telling the wrong story, it is gross. That's the truth. It is kind of gross when you're trying to convince people and almost win in comparison to your competitor. Not your competitor, your customer, right? If you're trying to win by getting more money from them, then it is gross. But if you're telling the right story, and by that what I mean is, so many companies try to position themselves as the hero in the story, right? So they really try to say, we are the best and we're the greatest, so give us money. And that makes you the hero of the story. But the reality is, every human out there wakes up as the hero in their own story, right? We perceive ourselves as the hero. My life is a movie about me. And not even in a selfish way. It's just the way that I live, right? I'm the hero of my own story. So if I'm the hero of my story, and a company positions themselves as a hero in their story, then we are in competing stories. We actually, one of us has to win and one of us has to lose because we're in competing stories. But what the StoryBrand framework does is teach you to position yourself as the guide in your customer story. So your customer is the hero always, and you are their guide. You are Yoda and they are Luke Skywalker. You are Gandalf and they are Frodo. So you invite them into a story where you get to play their guide, and your whole job is to help them win. And the way you help them win is by solving their problems. So when you begin to understand story in a new way, and you understand I am not the hero of my story, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you are not the hero of your story. Your audience is, your customer is. And when you can position yourself as their guide, that your entire job is to help them win, first, not only does that give you a framework for how to communicate, so it makes it easy, which is what, I said, a lot of people are guessing at what they need to write, and it's very intimidating. When you have a framework, you know how to communicate. And then secondly, it doesn't position you as sleazy or in competition with your customer. You genuinely are trying to help them win. And when the more they win, the more you win. And so that's why StoryBrand for me is so powerful, is because all of that stuff you said, for so many people, it's so intimidating to build a sales funnel. But it's because I think we have to have a paradigm shift about what a sales funnel is for.
That is so powerful, JJ. I reflect on that mindset shift. Kind of feels like those two personas. If I told you I had a car salesman and a school teacher, knowing nothing else, who do you trust?
The teacher.
The teacher. Why? Yeah. Because they want something for you.
Yes.
But the car salesman wants something perceived from you.
Yes.
And so we instantly have our guard up. So I hear you with that mindset shift of moving into that school teacher mentality of really genuinely wanting to make relationship deposits, problem solution deposits, really helping your ideal audience, the Thrive Collective. Pay attention to that. That's a pro tip. That's gold right there. Pivoting the message. Anything else? Any other reflections on that?
No, I think that's, I don't know if you just heard that, we're recording live, but the Roomba just started to talk to me. So if you heard that.
See, and now the Roomba is solving a problem.
It is. It's solving my problem. It's going to scare my dog, but it's what happened. You know what? I'll take the problem.
Hashtag real life. I love it. Okay. So whether we call it it is the anatomy of the sales funnel, of a story branded sales funnel. That's what we're here to talk about. Yeah. So the different components of that. But I love going into this conversation with that relationship mentality, truly wanting something of benefit for the ideal avatar who we're trying to serve.
Yep.
So under the hood then, Dr. Petersen, kind of share with us, what is the anatomy? What components are necessary for a sales funnel that works?
Yeah. So you're dead on when you say that really any type of relationship that you're building, whether it's with your team members, like internally, and so you're leading a team, or your audience as far as customers, it's all about relationship and building a relationship and ultimately building trust, right? And so I like to look at even relationship with our customers in some ways like every other relationship that we develop, like let's start with a dating relationship, right? So if I'm looking to date somebody, typically what happens is, let's say I go to a party and I'm at a friend's house and I see somebody across the room that I'm intrigued by, right? Because I start to hear a little bit of their story and I go, oh, they studied in France. That's interesting. And I'm attracted to them and everything. And what that phase of relationship is called curiosity. So every good relationship starts with curiosity, where you start to become curious about the person. And this is true for a dating relationship. It's true for a business relationship. You have to start with building curiosity, helping people become curious in the product that you have and the problem that product solved. The second phase of relationship is enlightenment. So again, I'm interested in this person at a party. I see them. I start being curious. I ask a few questions and then I say, hey, let's go on a date. And you go on a date, and on those dates, you're starting to learn more and more and more about this person. You're becoming enlightened about them and you're drawn in even tighter. Well, it's the same thing with a business relationship. After somebody becomes curious, you actually have to educate them about what you do, the way you do it, in a clear and compelling way that builds enlightenment. You're teaching them about who you are and how you can serve them well. And then the third phase of the relationship is commitment. So that's the three levels of relationship: curiosity, enlightenment, commitment. And in commitment, again, at some point, you need to do something, right? You have to, like, if you're just, you see those stories all the time of like, oh, well, we're dating for 10 years. And they go, well, what's his problem? Like, there's a problem, if somebody doesn't actually act. Or when I was working at the university, I would see all these students who would hang out together for hours and hours studying, and even have, I worked at a Bible college, so they were doing prayer time together, and they're doing this for like months and months and months. And then I'm like, are you guys dating? No. Have you asked her on a date yet? No. What's your problem, dude? Get on it. Like, you're gonna, at some point, somebody is gonna get the guts to ask this girl out, and you're gonna miss out. Like, you have to ask for that commitment or you miss out. And it's the same thing in a business relationship. You have to come to a point, and that point can be really anywhere along the journey, but you need to ask for a commitment. Now, a lot of people try to ask for that commitment too early, which is like asking somebody on the first date to marry you. And that works. We've seen it work in movies, right? Of like, oh, we fell in love on the first date. We know those stories. But for the majority of people, it doesn't work that way. You have to start with curiosity, then move to enlightenment, and then ask for the commitment. So a sales funnel helps you guide people through that relationship. It starts with curiosity, then moves to enlightenment, and then commitment. So there are 5 pieces we say is the StoryBrand marketing checklist. Really, there are 5 things that you need in your sales funnel: a one-liner, a website, a lead generator, nurture emails, and sales emails. So those are really the 5 things: one-liner, website, lead generator, nurture email, sales emails. And each of those is designed to do something in that relationship building. So a one-liner is basically a way of helping people get curious about what you do. It's the very first phase. So everybody that's listening right now, you need to have a one-liner. And a one-liner is this: it's just a simple way. It's a simple way of explaining what you do and why what you do matters to the person you're talking to. It invites them into a story and helps them be curious. And there's actually a formula to it. So the formula is problem, solution, result. So just remember that, because I'm going to walk through them for a second. Problem, solution, result. So normally when somebody asks you what you do, you just tell them. So for me, if somebody asks me, hey, JJ, what do you do? My gut instinct is to just go, I help people with their marketing and branding. That's it. And I just go, I help people with marketing and branding. Well, if I say that, people become now curious about me as a person. So they will ask questions like, oh my gosh, what companies have you worked with? Oh my gosh, what was the weirdest situation you got into? Where have you traveled around the world? They're asking questions about me because I started with my story. I said, I do marketing and branding. A better way of getting people curious about my business is to start with, quote unquote, their story. Their story starts with a problem they're experiencing. So I say something along the lines of, somebody says, what do you do, JJ? And I say something instead like, so many companies are struggling in their messaging and marketing because they're telling the wrong story and they're losing money because of it. I work at a company called StoryBrand, and I come in and help people clarify message so they're telling the right story so that they can actually connect more with customers and grow their business. That's a one-liner. It's the 3 parts: problem, companies struggle with telling the right story; solution, what I do to help; and then result, what their life looks like after. So let me put that together one more time so you can hear it. So, JJ, what do you do? Well, so many companies really struggle with their messaging because they're telling the wrong story and they're actually losing money because of it. So I work at a company called StoryBrand, and I come in and help companies clarify their message using a story framework so that they tell the right story and they actually engage customers and grow their business. That's it. One, two, three. And all that's designed to do is build curiosity. And that is the first part of your sales funnel, is building curiosity. So you need a one-liner. Then from there, what they should do is say, tell me more. And what they're going to ask, the questions they're going to ask are about how to solve their problems, right? They're going to go, oh my gosh, my company does that too. They're not going to ask me where I've traveled or what. They may ask what companies I've worked with, but really they're just going to go, oh my gosh, we struggle with that. So you're positioning yourself as the guide already to their story. So everybody on here, you need to right now even push pause on this podcast. Sorry, Rob, I'm going to push pause.
That's all right. That's right.
And what you need to do is you need to think through, what problem do you solve for your customer or your audience? What is your solution? And ultimately, what does their life look like after they have taken you up on your solution? Problem, solution, result. You need to just pause and start brainstorming that, because that is the first piece of your sales funnel. And everybody can do that. This will change everything about your business. Then the next phase is you need to create a wireframe website. So you need to create a website that actually tells the right story for your customer. Then from there, you need to create a lead generator. And a lead generator is just something that gets people's email address. And the way you do that is by offering some kind of value, like a video that gives them 5 tips, or a PDF that gives them 5 tips, something that you can get their email from. And both the website and the lead generator really move people from curiosity to enlightenment. The website still does a little bit of building curiosity, especially like the beginning, the header of your website builds curiosity. And then we move people towards enlightenment with the rest of the website and the lead generator. Then the last 2 pieces of the sales funnel are sales emails and nurture emails. Sales emails close the deal. They move people into that commitment phase. And all you want to do is the easiest way. There's a number of formulas. Now, we even put a formula in the Marketing Made Simple books. You can go read that. But I'll give you the easiest way to write a sales funnel if you've never written one before, especially if that feels very intimidating, is just think of the top 5 reasons why people would not buy your product or service. So maybe it's cost, maybe it's time, maybe it's too hard. And this is even the same for, say, leaders who are like trying to get people to move forward, like buy into a campaign. Think of the top 5 reasons why they would not. Like, are they uninformed? Does it cost too much? Whatever that is. And then write 5 emails that overcome those 5 objections. So if the first one is cost, so you just go, you have an imaginary conversation with your customer and they say to you, well, it's too expensive. Well, just imagine, what would you say back to them when they say it's too expensive? You'd probably talk about the value that you bring, how you're saving them time, how you're saving them effort, how this is an investment instead of a cost. All right. So take all of that language and put it in an email. And that's your first email, is overcoming that objection of cost. Then same thing. If the second one is time, it's going to take too much time. Well, now you need to just have an imaginary conversation with your customer and say, here's the thing, though, is once you actually put this time up front, you're going to save a bunch of time later. Not only will you save more time, but it's going to be more effective. So you're going to make more money. All right. That's email number 2. So just take the top 5 reasons why people are hesitant to buy your product or service, and then write an email that overcomes those top 5. And then finally, the last thing is a nurture email. And the nurture email is kind of like, let's say they're not ready to buy. You've asked them to buy, you've asked them to marry you. They're not ready to buy yet. They're not ready to commit. All right, we're going to continue dating. We're going to continue the relationship. So that's where a nurture email sequence comes in. And that's where you send basically an email maybe once a week or once a month, depending on your audience. And all you're doing is offering value to them to continue to build the relationship. So you're not really asking for a hard sale. You're just going, hey, by the way, I know you struggle with this. And let's say you're a nursery, like a plant nursery. And you might send out an email that's like, hey, as winter comes, here's how to protect your plants. As spring comes, here's how to make sure that you're planting things at the right time. Here's how to make sure your garden is lush and gorgeous. Here's 5 tips on designing your yard so that it fits your needs. You're just sending out tips once a week that offers value. And then at the bottom, you're like, hey, schedule an appointment or buy now or come in, but you're not really selling. You're just offering value. So that is the sales funnel. I know I just threw a ton of stuff at you, but that's sales funnel.
It is. It's like an engine. And once you get this thing set up, it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yep. Sometimes we're talking to clients as, again, we're StoryBrand certified agencies. We implement these tools that JJ's talking about. We'll say it could become your MVP team member. Your sales funnel works like a team member, except it's an investment one time that pays dividends for years to come.
Yeah, we have to say it sells while you sleep. Because and every business has to have this. I mean, I'm very adamant about that, is that really every business has to have this. You have to build relationship with your customer at the speed that they're ready to onboard, which starts with curiosity, moves to enlightenment, and then moves to commitment. And you have to be telling the right story. Otherwise, you're just noise. You're just noise. You're adding noise. You're that email that comes into their box that they ignore like every other one. You have to position yourself as a guide to their hero and help them overcome their problems. And you do that with a sales funnel. And it feels intimidating. And I'm not going to say it's not going to take work. That's the truth, is this will take a little bit of work. But the work is worth the investment, because it will sell in your sleep. And, and Rob, you mentioned this, but I'm going to pitch you for a second, is that Rob is an amazing guide. He's an amazing marketer, and their team creates this. So what we do is we train people to create this. Rob is one of the people who creates this. So if it's even after all this, you're like, I get it, you can hire Rob. So I know, Rob, I'm just going to say that because I believe in you and I've seen your work and I know what you do. So, and I'm passionate about this. And let me go back to one of the things I said earlier. I don't feel sleazy saying that. I don't feel weird pitching you, because I know you are capable of solving their problem. And that's what it comes down to. Is I used to be so insecure about asking people to buy, or asking people to donate, or asking even like students to volunteer, right? I used to be like, hey, we really need a lot of help for preview day. It would really help us a lot if you guys stepped up. And it always felt weird. Well, what if I just changed that story and made them the hero, right? And my job is to help them win the day and move their life forward and feel better and solve their own problems. When I tell that story, then I have no problem. I have no problem going, no, you need to hire Rob, because I know Rob is going to give you a return on your investment. He perceives himself, he looks at himself as a guide, and he wants you to win. So when you start telling that story, then I don't have a problem. I don't feel sleazy. I don't feel weird. I have confidence in the product and service that is being offered. And I actually say, no, if you're not ready for it, that's fine. And when I say you're not ready for it, that means I'm not your guide. It's not time for this story to happen in your business or life. But if it is, I know I'm going to help you win. And I have no problem calling you to action and asking for that commitment.
Well, JJ, first of all, thank you. Such kind words and affirming, and quite frankly, learning from you over the years, is really, your compliment to us is equally a compliment back to you and your team, as you guys have taught us so well through the certification courses at StoryBrand. It's so beautiful. The idea of building a relationship at a distance, first through curiosity, then enlightenment, then commitment. I am curious about finding more heroes to fill into that funnel, like the outreach and the expansion, filling the top of the funnel. Yeah. Just be really curious, just as a kind of a closing question for me, the idea of filling the funnel with more people. what ideas, recommendations, or advice would you give to the small business owner that just needs to get seen by more heroes?
Yeah. The first I would say is clarify your message. Clarify your message, figure out what story you're telling and make that story really, really clear. Because what that does is it helps you hone in on who your audience is and who you're inviting into the story. Then, in the most simple form, go where they are, right? So figure out where they are. So let's make it really simple. If you are a peach farm, then you want to be at farmers markets and you want to be on corners that are high traffic, right? You literally go to where they are physically as a peach farm. But let's say you are not a peach farm, you don't have something physical to sell in that space. You still want to think of the same in the same way. Where is the traffic? Where are people going by? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it, where is it? Is it conventions that you need to be at giving keynotes? You need to be where the traffic is. So identify who your story is about, then go to where they are. And I think if you've not started before, then don't feel like you have to be everywhere, right? TikTok is huge right now. 90% of you that are listening to this don't need to be on TikTok. You don't need to be wasting your time on TikTok because that's not where your audience is. Now, if you're selling to teenage girls, then you 100% need to be on TikTok. But if you're not, then you need to be in LinkedIn. You need to be in Instagram. You need to be places where your audience is. So start there. Don't try to go everywhere. Go to where your biggest traffic is. Then when you're there, what you need to do is you need to identify how to create curiosity. Now, that curiosity can be by offering something free. So like something of value. So it can be a coupon or it can be a free sample, but it can also be tips and tricks. So for instance, as a marketer, you might put something online that says 5 ways your website is losing you money and how to fix it. You're just getting some curiosity out there and you're trying to solve a problem for your customer. And you're not necessarily, I would say, for most people, you're not necessarily trying to sell your product in that space. You're trying to get people curious. And so you do that with one-liner language, with solving a problem for them. And so you're advertising lead generators or tips, tricks, something that gets them curious, especially if you have a high-end product. If you're selling something that's a couple $1,000s or more, most people are not going to buy directly from Facebook for a couple $1,000 product. So don't sell your product, sell your lead generator. And what I mean by sell is advertise. Pitch your lead generator, get people curious. So that's how I would start for people who've not done that before. Identify your audience. Who is the story about? Then go to where the high traffic areas are for that audience. And then start by getting them curious. Use one-liner language and then also give them something of value that shows that you can solve a problem.
This is brilliant gold because, quite frankly, a lot of small business owners listening in think, well, I should be on Facebook. I should be on Google. I should be on this. I should be on this. And if you don't go through the steps of clarifying your message first, it's going to be like letting the tail wag the dog. You're going to be doing all the things to try to mimic what you see people as peers in your industry doing without the core reason behind it, the why behind it. When you go through that to clarify your message, you know who you're talking to.
Yeah. And, we often say you can amplify your message, but if your message doesn't make sense, it's not going to matter. So you can give a monkey a bullhorn and you can make it loud. You can make the monkey louder, but that doesn't mean you're going to get more sales, right? And that's what so many people do is they don't clarify their message first. They don't tell the right story. And then they just are putting noise out there through a megaphone. That's it. And they're telling the wrong story. So nobody's listening. So that's why it's so important to start there. Then when you get that megaphone, when you get that microphone, you know that the message is being heard and it's making a difference.
Absolute brilliant gold. Entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders, I hope that you take action on some of the advice that Dr. JJ Petersen is sharing with us today. And JJ, as a follow-up from today's episode, first of all, thank you for your investment in the Thrive Collective family today. This has been just a treasure of a time together. You've actually got a couple of resources as well, 5-minute marketing makeover, and then also Marketing Made Simple. You yourself, you and April Sunshine Hawkins, you guys have a podcast
Yes,
that's helping business owners. Maybe just share a little bit about these two resources and how Thrive Collective can tie into them.
Yeah, so 5 Minute Marketing Makeover is a video series. This is part of our nurture campaign. It's our lead generator. And I have no problem kind of pulling back the curtain and going, no, we're going to try to sell you something, and not to be like a jerk about it, but it's because we believe this will help. So if you go to 5 Minute Marketing Makeover, first thing you're going to do is you're going to get videos that you will immediately be able to start making a difference in your marketing. But second, you're going to start getting our sales emails. Now, here's the thing. I would, if you do not have a sales funnel, I would print out those emails. So first, if you want to buy from us and we feel like it's a good fit, great. But here's the other thing. Print out the emails and copy our format. Just do that. That alone is a tool for you. Because I would say study other people's marketing who is doing it well. So download the videos. Those are going to give you tips. But this is the insider trick for here, is literally just wait till our emails come, read them, copy them, and use them to build your own sales funnel. We want you to succeed. So that's 5minutemakeover.com. Go there, sign up. And then secondly is the Marketing Made Simple podcast. And so April Sunshine and myself, April Sunshine, that is her real name. She works with me in doing training for marketers around the world. And we really believe we work with the best marketers in the world. We started a podcast because we believe marketing should be easy and it should work. And so every episode goes into giving tips and tricks, really actionable items that people can do to improve their marketing right now. And we launched just a couple weeks ago. So this first series is going through the StoryBrand Framework. So if you're going, how do I clarify my message? JJ and Rob are saying, I need to have the right story. Well, listen to the first series of Marketing Made Simple, the podcast, and you will get the information you need to clarify your message. And then the next series, what we're doing is the sales funnel. So if you want to clarify your message and create a sales funnel, the first, I believe, 20 episodes-ish are going to be about that very thing. So go subscribe to Marketing Made Simple and we'll get you marketing that's easy and works.
Amazing. Dr. JJ, thank you. Thank you on behalf of the entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders who listen to this show. Thanks for your investment with the Thrive Collective family today. It's been a joy to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I loved it.